there are a couple things that we can do to help alleviate ice and snow damage. You know, sometimes we can wrap our plants with burlap, and that's not my number one way. But what you can do is from the onset, when you're picking certain types of plants, some plants have the ability to resist breakage. A great example would be the new Bradford pears, which really don't have lots of branches, but they have less branches, and the branches are much more sturdier, and they don't break as easy. The other thing you might consider is not plant all your plants really close together. One of the things that you notice in this garden here, we've really tried out spacing the plants as opposed to putting them all together. And what you notice is the sun, when a plant has a lot of sun from around it, the branches are really nice and sturdy, like this yew. You know, occasionally we get that once every 10 or 20 or 30 or 40, 50-year ice storm, and some branches on some of the other yews will bend to the ground, and they might even break. Now, remember, some plants are real resilient. You know, you might see them weeping to the ground, and then the next day when the ice melts, they grow back up, and some of those plants might be fine. If everything you've done has failed and you still have a lot of ice and snow on the tree, you know, I see people going out and walking out and shaking their boxwood and some of their other evergreens with the snow. It might even be a Bradford pear still with leaves. It's important to be as safe conscious as possible. And you can get these shoes that go right over your shoes, and they have spikes, and there's many different types of these. And it will help you. It's not a foolproof way, but they might help you from slipping on the ice that's around the base of your boxwood trees and so forth. As you see here, we have really thinned out our boxwood tree, and this really is a tree. As you can see, it's quite large. We don't do this every year, but what you want to do is create branches like this that are really strong, that won't really, you know, pull out of the tree and break. And by doing simple pruning methods like reaching in and pruning whole branches like this, you allow the light to get in the center of your plant, and you allow growth to occur inside, which helps strengthen this shrub from ice damage. If you have some plants that really need to be wrapped, occasionally people will come right in with burlap, and they will tie maybe 1 or 2 swaths of burlap around their shrubs to help prevent them from breaking. These are just some things you can do. But thinning out some of the branches is the ideal and best way. And you only need to do this occasionally every couple of years, and it will allow your plant to resist a lot of the elements of nature. These major ice storms don't happen every year. So we're not, at least we hope they don't, we're not always thinking about what we can do to help our plants. Some of the things that you can do, especially on some of your larger trees, is just go in and tip back the branches. Now, when I mean tip, that's just taking a little tip, maybe the last year's growth. The ideal time to do this is sometime in June, and that prevents the branches from extending real far out, and so it just reduces the overall weight. The other thing that you might consider is do a little bit of thinning. So if you need a few greens for decorating, just, you know, come in. This is a branch that had been damaged, as you see here, but by thinning out some of the branches, you thin out some of the overall area that can capture ice or snow. It is real important to remember that ice and snow on trees is extremely heavy, especially if you start getting 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch. You don't want to go out and shake these trees. You don't even want to be under your trees. Sometimes I've heard forests that explode with the weight of the ice as the branches break and crack, and they can weigh hundreds and hundreds of pounds. In some cases, your tree can just split into 2. So always keep in mind, safety is very important. But you can just go through your garden, thin out some of your trees, don't plant your trees too close, and that will alleviate some of the ice and snow damage we sometimes see. I'm Mark Viette. Join me next time in the garden.
For more garden tips, use the internet to click on the In the Garden website, inthegardenradio.com.